What up, though? This is Knockouts in 3 Counts. But before we bring you another episode of Podcast Gold, let me tell you about the homies over at Michigan's Finest. Do you ever find yourself trying to get yourself together and thinking, man, this is going to be a great night, but I'm looking for that little extra something? Well, check out our friends at Michigan Finest. If you are into medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, concentrates, vapes, anything of that sort, Michigan's Finest has got you covered. And as you can see here, it's all easily done by their website. It's all curbside, and you'll be in and out in 2 minutes. And they're family owned and operated, so customer service is their #1 goal. And now, since they are rocking with Knockouts in 3 Counts, use the code KO3MF. Yes, that's KO3MF. You get 10% off your entire order, but that does exclude featured items and items that are already on sale. But if you use that code, you're getting 10% off your items, and I promise you, either if you're looking for that big knockout or you're ready to hit the sheets for that 3 count, Michigan's Finest will get you together. Tell them Knockouts in 3 Counts sent you, and I promise you, you're going to be having a great night. Peace.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts in 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts in 3 Counts is the podcast leading to the real deal, baby!
Knockouts in 3 Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, no? It is another Thursday, and man, do we got a lot of shit to talk about. And if things play out the way they're looking, I'm going to have plenty money to have to go play with G3 payroll. But with that being said, this is Knockouts in 3 Counts. We got a lot of shit to talk about. We got Jake Paul. We got WrestleKingdom. We got Mercedes Mone. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about. Throw it out in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, what y'all want us to talk about. And, yeah, another Thursday. Shout out to our sponsors, Michigan's Finest and G3 Payroll. It is tax season. Get your taxes done for free. And tell them Knockouts in 3 Counts sent you. Check out their Facebook page, links in the comments, and get yourself together for tax season. Thank me later. But with that being said, WrestleKingdom, dude. New Japan, you bastards got me to get New Japan World once again. And not going to lie, dude, not mad about it at all. I feel like WrestleKingdom definitely was dope from top to bottom. Obviously, some of the biggest news being Mercedes Mone and all those good things. But, J-Bone, what'd you think about WrestleKingdom?
Bro, look, not a lot of things will keep my mind active throughout the late hours of the night. As we all know, I start my day pretty early, but he's right. I lie about that. WrestleKingdom, dude, the middle of the night, I got to watch this whole thing, top to bottom. Unbelievable. It always is too, though, right? Do we expect anything less at this point from WrestleKingdom? It is the Mecca. Besides WrestleMania, it's the Mecca of the world of wrestling, dude. You're never gonna see bad wrestling at WrestleKingdom. It's just the Mecca, dude. But top to bottom, great show. I just love the celebration of wrestling when it comes to New Japan. You know what I mean? It's just so much different than the pageantry and like WrestleMania. It's not WrestleMania. You know, it's their WrestleMania, but it's not WrestleMania. It's just a celebration of professional wrestling, dude. And it was top to bottom, like I said, great card. Loved it.
Yeah, the one
Couldn't agree more, dude.
Whenever you look at any of these events that are held over in the Asian markets, man, like even when I just watch like the ONE FC, you know, like events that are just like their regular, you know, find it on YouTube events and stuff, man, they really do find a way of just really making all their presentations feel special over there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's their walkouts, the theme of it, the way the crowds are significantly quieter and stuff like that, except for like key moments and stuff. But I don't know what it is, man, but the combat sports in the Asian markets, man, it just feels different. It really does.
I think it's more of a respect factor, dude, to be honest. Like for somebody like you, like an outsider standpoint, like you don't get to watch a lot of wrestling like that. It definitely is more of like a respectable craft when it comes to international stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like if you like perfect example, if you notice the crowd is rather quiet rather than our crowds are just wild and crazy. There's beer everywhere. It's nuts. You know what I mean? Over there, it's just a respectable art, and it's just that just is what it is. It's a different side of it, man. It's just tradition. So, but it's
mean, you see that in the MMA world as well. With what we saw from Risen versus Bellator the other day, it's the same kind of thing when they're fighting. But for me, there were a few things that really stuck out. I really enjoyed the FTR match. I mean, obviously FTR, in my opinion, like I said, was the greatest tag team of 2022, but obviously they're on a skid because they lost their belts, man. J-Bone, what did you think about the FTR match? What do you think this means for FTR? Where do you see this going now that they have lost all 3 of their tag team titles?
Just raises more questions, don't it, man? Like, usually when we get these wrestling matches, like, oh, now we know who's better. This is raising so many more questions because, let's face it, they're probably the best tag team in the world, and we don't know what they're going to do next after losing all these belts. Like, last year was their year, right? They win belt after belt after belt, match after match after match, banger, banger, banger. Now they lose it all. Like, the first question comes to mind, where are they going? They're going somewhere else, or are they just rebooting for the year? I mean, who knows? But that's the cool thing about wrestling. We got more questions than we do answers now, but they're still the best tag team in the world.
And they showed that. They dominated that match and then just caught them slipping at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the best way, in my opinion, to build back up fans, I guess, to make them realize that they're beatable again. Like you said, you know, they're arguably the best tag team coming off of last year and stuff like that. And then to have them now look like they're beatable again, to give them this arc that's going to lead into their magnificent return. That's the direction I see. Yeah. Like you say, especially with the way,
I think that's the big question. But where? Is it going to still be AEW? Is it going to be Ring of Honor? Are they going to do the little tour? New Japan, Impact, you know what I mean? Who knows, man? I mean, with so many options out there now,
I think they like being able to travel everywhere and face all these teams. I mean, when you hear them talk, you know, they're big fans of the NWA and the traveling world champion and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely see that too. Like I said, I don't know necessarily that it means that they're leaving AEW per se, but it's definitely interesting with them losing all those belts, at least as far as to where they go and what's going to happen next. For all of you guys who are tuning in, man, you know, let us know what you think. What do you guys think is next for FTR? I don't know, dude. So there was that match for me, but another one that really stuck out to.
Thanks, Kathy.
Twisted Tumbler. Shout out to Kathy. Get you a Twisted Tumbler. Kathy is the deal. But with that being said, another thing that was a big standout to me is it was the last New Japan match for the Great Muta. I really enjoyed seeing him come out there. It was dope. And then you had Umino back from Excursion. You know, we saw him over here in Impact and all those things. And now they're touting him up like he's going to be one of the next big guys over there in Japan. J-Bone, what do you think, man? I mean, part of me, don't get me wrong. The Great Muta, Keiji Muto, I missed not seeing the paint and all that one more time in there, but we still got the Great Muta out of it. I liked the tribute from the guys on the LIJ side. So what'd you think about the last match in New Japan for the Great Muta?
I mean, what's not to love, right? I mean, there's history, man. There it is again. We're celebrating tradition and history for the Great Muta. I mean, and we just seen what happened with him and Nakamura. I mean, the dude he's a special wrestler, dude. That just is what it is. So anytime you get considerably, one of the best Japanese wrestlers of all time, obviously, and then you got his final match on WrestleKingdom, dude, that's so big. Like, you could go out there and stink up the place at your old age, but people are going to be watching this shit. You know what I mean? That's how much you respect him. So if you're a wrestling fan, you made sure you watch that one. So shout out to him, man. What a career.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got a few more things left to go on his retirement run here before he's out of here. I believe they said his retirement match is going to be in February. Another thing that stuck out for me, man, was when you think about it, you realize we technically, I guess technically she's not with WWE right now, but on one show you had, well, even if she's not, you had Carl Anderson, who's a WWE guy, you had AEW, and you had New Japan all on the same show. It was just, it's crazy how you get to see some of these things, get to see how everything's coming through and all these different promotions and the matchups you see. I mean, to me, that was one of the coolest things growing up of watching wrestling over there from Japan and in England and all these things, because you saw a lot of matchups that you wouldn't see. And again, like we talk about with like the Risen versus Bellator fight, just the style being so different over there. It's cool to see teams like an FTR, a Kenny Omega, who for all of us who are diehards, we all know the cleaner Kenny Omega and most of his name was made in Japan. But now for him to go to AEW and then to come back there like that and have a banger like that with Will Ospreay, I think it only further cements the fact that Will Ospreay is one of the futures of pro wrestling. Doesn't matter what fucking three letters you put it under.
Right.
What'd you think about that match, bro? I liked right off the rip that Kenny had a different theme on there. I liked the entrance with the wings.
Was it like the final? I'm not really good at like the anime games and all this, but was it like a Final Fantasy type thing? Okay, yeah. He's been known to do that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of his.
Well, Kenny's a big video game guy. You know, you can check that out with our guy Mega Rand. You know, so it's cool to see that. And I mean, the cleaner character that he had over there in New Japan had a lot of elements of that in it. So like to have him standing there like that and to have his wings come out like this, and then to just have the whole deal. And then I really like that he had a different theme song as well.
Yeah.
Like
cool shit,
I like that it was a different vibe.
We're going to get a 50-star rating from Meltzer on that one, dude.
Hey, yo.
We're going to get our first ever 50-star rating from Dave Meltzer. Bank on that.
Cody, did you check out any of WrestleKingdom? Let us know what you guys think of WrestleKingdom. I liked it, but the match itself, man, you got Will Ospreay. You hear me sing this guy's praises all the time. Will, if you ever hear this, we'd love to have you on the show. But with that being said, from Aussie Open, who we saw with our guys from Circle 6 to Ospreay to TJP and them who were victorious earlier in the night, defending the junior heavyweight tag team champions. And you've got the Great Okan and Jeff Cobb in there as well. I mean, bro, the United Empire, you know, everybody talks about Bullet Club and all those things when it comes to New Japan. But, you know, the United Empire has got a hell of a roster themselves. And to see all them come out with Ospreay, it's kind of like he's leading that new charge of New Japan in a lot of ways. Like I said, bro, it's really cool to watch. It's really cool to see how it plays out. But, dude, the way they went back and forth, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I really didn't think that Kenny was going to win the United States Championship in this one. I really thought that Will was going to come out with it. But, man, they beat the hell out of each other. I mean, Kenny was busted up. Will was bleeding all over the place. I mean, J-Bone, what were your thoughts on the match itself for anybody else who checked out WrestleKingdom 17 and saw the banger that already might be one of the match of the year candidates for 2023? And Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, feel free to chime in.
Early prediction.
Yeah, man.
Early prediction. But
we got the seeds were planted over in AEW earlier, you know, at the end of the year there. But I mean, like we said, dude, do we expect anything less from those two guys? I mean, arguably two of the best wrestlers in the world, like we always say. And Will Ospreay, dude, like you said, wherever he goes, he's the future, man. You can't deny that. There's no argument even needed there. But as far as the match, like you said, dude, we're 5 days in, and here we go. You know, we're talking match of the year already. That's saying something, man. So you'll get no argument from me.
I couldn't agree more, dude. Like, clear down to the end of it, and then when he went to go for the one-winged angel off the top rope, and then he DDT'd his ass on the turnbuckle after he removed everything. So, like, picked him up and gave him like an impaler DDT on the top turnbuckle. Like, dude, they just tore it up, just beat the living shit out of each other. If you guys haven't seen it, if there's one match to tell you to watch out of that, holy hell, that's the one. As far as like straight up matches on there, that's the one. But I mean, like I said, obviously the thing that everybody's talking about from WrestleKingdom is the debut of one Mercedes Mone. J-Bone, first of all, what were your thoughts on Mercedes Mone and her debut in New Japan? I gotta say, The hairdo was dope as fuck, but it had to like take forever to get that shit done. I'm just gonna say, like, she probably was in the chair for like fucking an hour before that shit. Probably.
Yeah.
Or
one thing
she just you got
Go
for
ahead.
something like that, for like some crazy design, I feel like you'd have to literally
Did you
just be
see
like
it, Corey?
Yeah,
It looks like the
the
flames in the
like
front. Okay.
cheetah. It was like cheetah print, but not quite. It was like
like a flame,
circular. Yeah, it was
Looked like the flames.
circular. Yeah, but it was
Looked
like
like flames to
circular
me.
patches of blue, and then it would like round off into like orange and then into the yellow of like the actual color. It might have been reverse of actual colors because I'm dyslexic as fuck when it comes to that stuff. But I do remember what she had going on. But I would imagine to do something like that, you'd literally just have to be laid in a like on a flat table and just have your hair just splayed, you know, like just as far out as you can get it and just patch it as you go. Because
Well, look, from my years of knowing women, there's one thing you never do and say, "Is your hair real?" You never do that. All right.
yeah, I was also.
We're not gonna question that part.
Well, I mean, her hair's been blue for a long time, but the blue hair wasn't the thing that we were crazy about. Number one, new name, new theme song, you know, and she
specify
says
for anybody who may have missed out and is blind, who are we talking about here?
Mercedes Mone, formerly known as
who
Sasha
we're talking.
Banks,
Yeah.
made her
There
debut
you go.
in New Japan. You know, this is, you know, hours after making those tweets thanking WWE and all these things. And then she comes out, new theme song, new name, like I said, going by Mercedes Mone now. The gear was fire. I think she still got to work out that finisher. The finisher was a little bit wonky, but I will say this, a match between her and Kairi Sane or Kyrie or whatever she's going by now is badass. We all know what Kairi Sane's capable of. To have Mercedes Mone go in there and have that match, it's going to bring a lot of eyes to the women's division over there in New Japan. I guess the question off of that, though, is what do you think, bro? Do you think this is going to be like a one and done? Do you think we're going to see multiple matches? I mean, obviously, if she wins, it can't be a one and done. Hey, yo. Happy New Year, Brock. What do you think about Mercedes Moné in New Japan?
I would hope I mean, look, man, she's got a bank on herself. She wasn't used right in WWE, and here's your chance. I mean, look, we've seen the Cody effect. We've seen the Chris Jericho effect. We've seen what it can do by traveling around. Maybe don't sign a long-term deal anywhere. Put your foot down in a couple places. You know what I mean? They're going to pay you. I mean, she's the hottest free agent out there, if she's even a free agent anymore. They're going to pay you. And imagine if she does all this and then still makes an appearance in the Royal Rumble, and then she's gone again, and she goes back and does some New Japan stuff again, maybe makes an appearance in Impact, NWA. I mean, who knows? But how do you cement your legacy? By showing like people that you're a badass, and she's a badass. She's going to be capable of doing it. She now has the wrestling world in her hand. Now you got to show us what's up. And then come back and make tons of money. Back up that Brinks truck, dude, because she's about to get paid.
Yeah. The ball
dude,
is
she's getting paid out the ass.
The ball is clearly in her court on this one. Like, to your point, I mean, I don't know what I would do necessarily. Like, do you make the move to Japan for 1 year, build your stardom over there, and then, like, really come back swinging when you hit the States? Or, to your point, do you just kind of travel about, build your stardom up that way where it's like, hey, you never know where I'm going to pop up. You never know whose belt I'm going to come steal type of thing. Like, that's also a very lucrative thing, but I'm very curious, right? Because to your point, if that's really how she feels, as though like she was mistreated, and even with the new direction of WWE, maybe that's not where she's wanting to go. Yeah, like she could do all that kind of stuff, and it would be huge. It would continue to blow up for at least a good little while, for sure, right? And I feel like that's the current direction she should go, but it's interesting, man. You rarely see an athlete of that level where, like I say, the ball's in their court, right? Like in professional, like even to relate it to fight sports, like even like Nate Diaz and stuff doesn't necessarily have like that level of like I can just appear anywhere type of shit, because it takes way more time to get ready for a fight and everything else like that than it does to appear and make a couple wrestling, appearances and stuff. You can do that with throughout the span of a month. You know what I mean? So it's very wild the direction this is going to go, and I'm also very curious what happened behind the scenes to where we are now that led her to actually kind of be this free agent that we're talking about.
I just don't think there'd be no bad move business wise or personal business wise for her. Like if you're AEW, she comes knocking at the door, say, "Hey, I'd like to do a match on your next pay-per-view, and I'll make 2 appearances a month." Fuck yeah, right? Same thing with WWE. Hey, I'd like to be in the Royal Rumble still, or make an appearance at WrestleMania. Hell yeah, because not only is it gonna your superstar is just gonna build and build and build, and then eventually you're gonna be stuck somewhere long term because you're gonna be the main player in the women's division wherever you go. So this, like I said, we're adding layer upon layer upon layer right now.
I think the WWE thing, though, not that the door is necessarily closed, because I don't think that's the case, but I think the door would be. No, but I think the door would be closed to something like you're saying, where, hey, go ahead and pop in at a bunch of our competition, go make your star bigger through them, and then also appear every so often for us. I don't think that would be the case. I think if you're going to
no, but I'm not saying do that for both. What I'm saying is you go do New Japan, you go build yourself up for a year, even say 2 years, whatever. I'm not saying she signs anywhere, but you do that and build your star. And then the thing is, you got to remember the reason why her and Naomi left, which will bring us to a point that Brock made in the comments. Brock asked a great point. He said, what about Naomi? Well, I think with what you've got going on, oh Lord, Chase said Mercedes versus Sonica. Holy shit. They wouldn't want to do that. She wouldn't make it back to New Japan or WWE then, but with that
real quick, the one point I wanted to spit out though is, could she end up doing the Brock, the Goldberg type of route where she does, like, to your point, only appear for pay-per-views and make like big appearances, surprise appearances and stuff like that, and she doesn't end up being like a regular roster type of spot if she does make her return?
I think it'll take some time, but what's going to take this thing into the next universe is if she does somehow appear in that Royal Rumble match. This will take everything that's happening right here, right now, and just skyrocket this shit to another dimension, dude. Or even
I don't think I don't think she's going to show up in the Royal Rumble. Here's why.
Not this
the
quick.
Reason I don't.
It's not this quick.
Yeah, I think it's too quick. Number one, because you got to remember they already have the match booked that she's going to face Kairi Sane in February. All right. So that's already booked. That's going to happen here in the States. I think what's more plausible of what's going to happen out of it, at least in my scope, would be she goes here, she does this with New Japan, even say she wins the belt with New Japan, and then say even if she won it and then dropped it somewhere down the line back to Kairi or something, but she goes there, wins the IWGP belt. Like you guys were talking about, maybe she goes to Impact. Maybe she does show up at AEW like what Brock said, and does that, or, shows up there too. I don't know how much if she shows up at AEW, I think that changes things as far as her going back to WWE.
Would close some doors.
Well, for sure. That's what I'm saying. If she shows up in AEW, that's probably because she's staying there. But what I am saying, though, is that if she goes and does this on a New Japan level, an Impact level, and all these levels, and then she comes back to WWE and says, you better not ever put me on the back burner again, because she's made herself that big of a star. Because you got to remember, we just had Charlotte return, last week, and everybody's comparing, Mercedes to Charlotte. I mean, when they were both in WWE, I mean, I think it's a very close argument that next to Charlotte, she's got to be a number 2 or number 3, depending on your preference, between Becky and Sasha. But I mean, then when you think technically, I mean, she would be number 2 in my opinion. So I mean, like I said, you're not talking about somebody that wasn't already in the top. Plus, she was in the WrestleMania main event.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so was Charlotte, but I'm just saying, so was Charlotte and Becky, both were in there too. But what I'm saying is, everybody goes, well, they had the main event. Well, Sasha was in the main event too.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, when you think about a number 1 and a number 2, Sasha was already right there, but if she can go out to New Japan and maybe capture that belt and then go to Impact and do her thing there and then show up all these places, well, then when she goes back to WWE, like you said, J-Bone, there ain't no other way to look at it, but she's getting paid. Like that's got to be where it's at. And right, Monet. I mean, like you got to look at it like this. I mean, and who better of an opponent? Her versus Kyrie for her first match outside of WWE. I mean, for all intensive purposes, bro, that should be a dope ass match.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's February, right? It's announced for February.
I don't remember the date, but yeah, it's here in the States.
I'd love to see her just be a journeyman type of wrestler, though, man. Go everywhere.
Numbers don't lie. She's going to have to sell out everywhere to prove her worth. Is she going to draw an extra 1,000 people everywhere she goes?
I think so. I would think so. Yeah. I mean, just like if the rumblings are that she's going to show up in AEW next week, I would think the crowd will be there for that. Or even if let's just say she goes on her Instagram and puts up Impact, something to do with Impact or Mickey James or something. Or what's the one coming up, Kyle? There's one
Hard to Kill.
Hard to Kill. She could appear there just for whatever reason. Just go sit her ass in the crowd, but like say you're gonna be there. That plants that seed, like, okay, she can do whatever she wants. And that's her saying, look at me. I am a star. Like I am the star. You know what I mean? So it's just the ball is in her court. Let's just keep it that way. She's got the
I agree. I think it was Monet. Like I said, she looked fire. All I'm saying is I just want to see that finisher look a little bit tighter. But all I'm saying is that shit was badass. Shout out to her for showing up there. And shout out to Bailey taking the trip to Japan to go support you know,
in her defense,
Mercedes,
she was doing it in like really big heels too. Like, those heels were kind of crazy.
That's a total fair point. But I will say the move looked badass. I've always been a big fan of like the gory bomb and all that kind of stuff. I always thought it looked cool. The gory bomb and the gory special, I always thought it was sweet. But Brock, yes, to answer your fucking question, we can definitely talk about that, because if I didn't talk about that, I wouldn't be doing an accurate WrestleKingdom 17 recap. We did talk about Ospreay and Omega, dude. I think it's obviously going to be one of the matches of the year for 2023. For any of you who didn't see it, it was absolutely insane. I just hope and pray that this means we can see Will Ospreay more on my TV here in the States.
50 stars. 50 stars.
Yeah. Well, fuck, Meltzer's going to give it like 1 million stars. So
50 stars. Let's go.
Call that match 50 star. But all right, the other thing, let's see what else we got on here. We talked about Okada and Ospreay. We talked about the debut of Mercedes Moné. You also had Carl Anderson against Tama Tonga for the never open weight championship. Now, the finish of that match, I don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the fuck happened. But all in all, dude, that match was dope. Like, again, I love seeing like the interpromotional stuff. Obviously, they had to get the belt off of Carl Anderson with him being in WWE, but I like the fact that he was able to go over there and go do that, dude. Like,
I mean, and let's not take the shine off of Tama Tonga, dude. Like that guy.
Yeah,
it's
dude.
Cool to see him he's finally getting a singles push and singles notoriety, because that dude's a badass. Let's just keep it how it is. That dude can go out there and put on a show, man. And he's finally getting the credibility he's deserved it for a long time. And it's finally good to see him get some shine, especially with, I mean, we got the interpromotional thing, like you said. Carl Anderson, he ain't no slouch himself. That was a great match. Like you said, the finish was kind of shaky, but hey, that's one of those matches. That's tradition of wrestling right there. You love to see those guys go at it, dude. So it was a perfect stage for it. And I like the winner. I love that Tama Tonga is finally getting that push. So I'm with it, man.
Well, very good point in that too. And then like the fact that Tama, I like the story that was told by Kevin Kelly and all them, like on commentary, with the history of Carl Anderson. Because for those who don't know, everybody knows Bullet Club, but Carl Anderson and Tama Tonga were two of the core four, when it comes to Bullet Club. The core four were those two, Fergal Devitt or Finn Balor, and Doc Gallows, I believe. So,
Yeah.
like I said, man, I mean, that's them telling that story of why this was such a battle, and then to have them two go at it like that. Like I said, it was cool. Obviously, like you said, it'll be cool to see how things play out with Tama Tonga. We've already seen Hikuleo already over there doing his thing as well. All in all, dude, Wrestle Kingdom was badass. I've still got to watch New Year's Dash. New Year's Dash, you know, they said that Kenny Omega teamed with Okada at New Year's Dash, so I'm gonna have to check that out. But all in all, dude, and the other thing I wanted to talk about, it was just cool to see people back in the Tokyo Dome too. Like, remember all the restrictions that were on Japan? They said you had about 28,000 fans in there. So to have that many people in one spot in Japan for all that since COVID, I think that in and of itself is a badass thing in and of itself, that we had all those people there when we've had all these restrictions because of COVID and all these things. So that's another point that I don't think can be understated, even though, like you said, J-Bone, the fans over there in Japan are respectful as all hell.
Very.
All right, dude. So we've went through, and then the main event. What am I doing? You can't go through this whole thing. You had Kazuchika Okada defeated the Switchblade Jay White for the IWGP I said tag team. IWGP World Championship, Tag Team Championship. Good God. But yeah, Okada, we've said for years, dude, Okada is the man over there at New Japan. I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, that guy could come to WWE and even not speak English at all and do just fine in WWE. The same as they already showed that when he came over here to AEW. It's no big shocker with him winning the belt. I think Switchblade had a hell of a run, you know, coming over to AEW and doing everything he was doing over there in Japan and doing his thing at Impact. I mean, again, when you talk about world champion, again, Switchblade Jay White has to fall into that category too. Plus, you know, I was there, ring the fucking bell at Madison Square Garden and Ring of Honor when he did his thing there too. So, I mean, like I said, Switchblade had a hell of a run. That being said, Okada back as champion for New Japan. There you go. We got the bell working again. Son of a bitch. But yeah, dude. It took a brief leave of absence. But with that being said, Okada is their champion's never a bad thing. Those two together, I don't think can have a bad match. I think Jay White is going to be a star in other places than New Japan eventually at some point. I see him as being a stateside star at some point. What do you think of Okada and Switchblade, J-Bone?
I loved it, man. And that's, like I said, it's another one of those matches, like, you don't expect anything less than greatness in that match. You know what I mean? Okada is probably, I seen somebody say this, and this isn't my words. I seen somebody say this on the Twitter machine earlier today. Okada is Japan's version of Roman Reigns right now. I mean, I could see that. That's great. But like you said, having him as their champ, never a bad thing. The story here, though, is Switchblade Jay. The run's over, right? So I can't think of the guy that something happened on the New Year's Dash thing where he blamed a certain person over his loss, and now his next match is a loser leaves Japan match, which implements to me something's changing there. I don't know his contract status, but that is a guy I would love to see show up in the Royal Rumble. So if that's doable, fucking please do that.
You really think he'd go to WWE before he'd go to AEW?
I don't know. We've seen those seeds planted, right, with the Bucks and AEW and everything. Who knows how it worked out? A lot of things are going on in AEW, man. You never know. But it comes down to money. Who's going to pay him the most, right? I would throw the freaking.
I mean, that being said, I mean, you know, a fair point to think about is, you know, you've got Roosh over there and his little brother over there in AEW, and Dragon Lee went to NXT.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, who knows, with Triple H being the one at the helm, at least for now, you know, it's
don't
it's
darken my
days.
Don't darken my days, please.
Well, I mean, I didn't plan on talking about this, but I mean, the news has come out now that they're saying that not only is Vince McMahon trying to come back to WWE, he's trying to come back to WWE to sell it. I don't know, man. It just like, look, bro, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Without Vince McMahon, we don't have pro wrestling the way we have pro wrestling. But I mean, at this point, it's kind of hard not to listen to that and have it not sound like, well, you guys don't want me to be at the head of my shit. Well, I still got control of it. So if I can't have it, nobody's gonna.
How's he gonna do this to Triple H twice, right? He did it with Black and Gold, right? He allowed him to build up just
That's a
enough
damn
where
good
the
point.
where the fans were like, I love this. This is a great product. This is almost arguably as good, if not better, than the main roster, and yada yada. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna pull the legs out from under that because I don't like that talk. And so now all of a sudden, what, 4 or 5 months into the transition or some shit, he's like, I don't really like all those rumblings of people saying that he's doing a better job than I did for the last 20 years. So, yeah, we're gonna get this into some other hands that ain't involved in the family. I could totally see some vindictive ass Vince-dictive shit like that going down.
That's what it's sounding like, right? I mean, what it sounds like Kyle, like we were talking earlier, if I can't have you, nobody can. It's a control thing for Vince. He is exactly Mr. McMahon on screen as he is off screen, dude. If that's what I'm seeing with all the implications of what happened and all the allegations and everything, and now this, bro, leave it alone. You're old as dinosaurs. Go home.
And not to mention, here's the thing: if you still have the stake in that company, like he clearly does, if Triple H goes in there and ransacks the place, and then they start making a bunch of money because everything goes up, then that means you're gonna make a bunch of money.
Yeah. So go home, sit down, drink some tea or a margarita.
I mean, now don't get me wrong. If he sells it, that means all that money is going to come to him. But
right. But like, what's at this point? What's the point? Like, leave your legacy where it's at. You're leaving it to your family. It's a money and power thing when it comes to Vince, dude. He doesn't care who he's going to screw over. That's the Vince McMahon character, Kyle. You know it best. You've seen it in the Austin era. It doesn't matter. That is Vince McMahon in real life. And we're seeing that right now. We're seeing that right now.
It's like some real vindictive, like family ran corporation type of shit, right? Normally you don't see it play out, I guess, in the public eye to this sense with these type of companies and stuff, because normally these type of companies, these family businesses and stuff, they don't make it to where they're the largest organization of whatever their particular specialty is. And in this instance, WWE's been in that category forever. They've been the largest in their organization, or in their sport forever, basically. And it's just so crazy, man, for like him literally to like just be like, I like, how can you see that it's like being viewed positively and everything's like going good and this was your decision and yada yada, whether it was coerced out of you because of allegations and this kind of stuff. Like, come on, dude, you're 80 years old, or 78, or he's upper 70, 75.
Go home.
Chill, dog. You got your family in like powerful positions. You've done everything to build up this organization to the level that it is. Just fucking chill, dog. I've said that since years now, since I've been talking about it on the show. The fact that even once I like came back into wrestling, it's like, how long are you really going to, like, I don't know, keep up the gimmick, right? Like, I thought when we seen like the last match.
See, but that's the thing though with Vince, it's not a gimmick though.
Like
Vince, you hear everybody talk about it. Like the guy doesn't ever stop. Like the guy doesn't ever take a break. He, if he could, he would work till he's dead. I mean, and this is showing that just might be true.
Very well.
I don't know, bro. It's like I said, it's interesting because I mean, if they do sell it, I mean, what does that look like? Who buys it? And if they do buy it, do they still want the same people in control?
The
Oh,
same
God.
people that bought the UFC,
Oh.
and then you end up with the
Oh,
Well, WME
Oh,
might
God.
be in the market after what happened with Dana, but I
Look, it's
mean, dude,
Dana
it's going to
White.
be interesting.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Let's not. It's not.
It's going to be interesting, dude, no matter how this plays out.
interesting. Lots of interesting going around right now, huh?
It's ridiculous, to be honest. My thing, Kyle, and like man, like the uptick in interest for WWE and the uptick in better matches, better stories, like because you watched over the years, has there not been a significant uptick in interest for WWE, even at live events? It's just better, right? Everything's been better. Nothing has gotten worse since Vince left. Nothing. Am I right? I mean, can you name like one thing that's significantly gotten worse?
Here's the thing with WWE being more entertainment based, there's always going to be some things that are going to be a little bit corny. So are there still some things that aren't the best at times? Sure. But all in all, can I not say that I've seen a lot of people that I think should have been getting used better a long time ago getting used better? Hell yeah, I do. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's not a case. I'm not going to say that I haven't enjoyed more of what we've seen since he's been in control. I mean, I think NXT has already shown a noted difference since Shawn Michaels got control down there. I mean, NXT had kind of gotten really kind of just, I don't even know what the right word you would call it would be when they did the big change to NXT 2.0. And I mean, since HBK went down there, I think NXT's been in a much better spot. So all in all, as a whole, I would say that it's gone better, and I think it's also going to attract new talent that maybe wouldn't have wanted to go there because of maybe some of the stuff that you had with Vince. But I mean, man, if you sell it, that could instantly change all of that in a snap of your fingers.
And it's shitty timing too,
I mean,
because we're at peak Royal Rumble season, WrestleMania season. Like, this is the most important time for WWE, and it's a shitty. Like, let Triple H do what he needs to do. Like, here's where everybody focuses on the Triple H regime now. Like, this is the big time spot. The Rumble all the way to WrestleMania to the night after WrestleMania. We are going to be tuned in to see what Triple H does with the product. And now here comes Vince, billionaire Vince, strutting his shit back in. Like, everybody look at me.
I'm a steal.
you're all fired.
I love to hear. You got to let him cook, man. You just got to let him cook in there.
Yeah. Let Triple H cook.
Too many
That's
cooks in the kitchen's never a good thing, man. But you know, we've had, we did get a new TNT champion over there in AEW as well with Darby Allin. I'm not gonna lie, I really thought Samoa Joe was gonna keep the belt. I really wasn't expecting that, but great match between him and Darby Allin. I like the way that they incorporated Nick Wayne and all that stuff. And I mean, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, now that Samoa Joe's just got the Ring of Honor title, that it doesn't kind of like keep him off TV. But hey, dude, not mad at Darby getting the belt. What'd you think about that?
I love Darby, dude. I love everything Darby does. He scares the shit out of me with some of the stuff he does, but oh, dude, he's so great, man. And everything he's been doing with Sting, I'm curious to see where that's gonna go. But I know Sting, you would think, has got to be coming close to the end of his run, man. And if the Darby thing implodes,
I mean, he hasn't been wrestling. I mean, they've only
right,
used
but like,
him
but that's
sparingly.
just, it's like how long can you do that for? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're an icon, but what are we really gonna do with you? I mean, I don't know. I think you can get a payoff out of it. Get a payout from Darby and Sting somehow.
If they can find another, Darby's like a very interesting character, right? So it'd be hard to find another replica of him. But if you could find somebody else for him to also mentor, right? He has two arms. He has quintessentially two wings that he could mentor somebody under, bring somebody else under.
What about Nick Wayne?
and
We
have him-
saw Nick Wayne, who we know is signed to an AEW futures contract. He's only 16, 17 years old.
Is he
And
still
he was-
underage?
Yeah, he's still under a contract. They talked about it on the match last night. They said he signed to a AEW, or no, he may not be under it now, but he signed to an AEW futures contract. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe Darby is one of the ones that helps, bring up a young Nick Wayne. I mean, there's a million different ways you can go with it. I like the pairing of Sting as far as him being with Darby Allin. I'm sure that they got more that'll come out as far as Sting goes, but wasn't a bad thing. I liked what we saw with Jericho and Ricky Starks as well. Big
Before it
win
all
for Ricky
implodes, though,
Starks.
I'd like to see Sting and Darby win the tag titles. That'd be cool. I think that'd be a really cool moment before it all breaks down. This is
That would be
wrestling, right?
cool.
It's all gonna break down. Everything breaks down. But before it does,
Who
I'd love to
knows?
see.
Maybe Sting just flies up to the crow's nest and just rides off
Yeah,
into
dude,
the
that's what I'm
sunset.
saying. Let's reverse the stigma. You know what I mean? My heart's been hurting ever since Shawn Michaels threw Jannetty through the glass, bro. That just it's wrestling. It always breaks our heart. So let's let Sting ride off on a happy note. I'll take my belt and fly away. That should be
I
wrestling.
believe I can fly.
That should be wrestling.
With that being said, who else is flying? Jake Paul has apparently flown from a boxing ring to an MMA cage, or at least so it seems, as he's signed with PFL. I don't know, man. We asked you guys what you guys thought on Knockouts and 3 Counts podcast on Facebook, which hopefully you guys are following this. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can follow us at KO3C Pod on Twitter and Instagram and all those things, and feel free to chime in on the conversation. But we had people asking things like, is this going to be a game-changing move? What do we think about him going to PFL? I think for the PFL, it's a great move because it's a way that it's going to bring eyes to them instantly. And to be honest, with who's out on the market and all those things, I don't know that there's that many names, especially now that Kayla Harrison, who was like their big star, has lost, who they could go get right now that would instantly bring eyes in the way that Jake Paul is going to bring eyes. And now it's also been said that he's going to head up a new division that's going to be in PFL as well. And it's interesting because now you've got the challenge that he laid out saying that he wants to fight Nate Diaz, but only if Nate Diaz will box Jake Paul first. I guess before we get into our thoughts on the call out from Jake Paul, Corey, what do you think about Jake Paul signing with PFL?
Well, a couple thoughts, right? Let me run you through my mind this morning as I'm sitting there looking through my phone real quick.
Judas in my mind.
And I'm like, oh shit. This is like Jake Paul signed to PFL. Wow, this is like you said, Kyle, this very well could be a game-changing moment both in like his career, right? He actually like made that move where he signed to a MMA organization, very reminiscent of the Clarissa Shields signing, in my opinion. That's what it really reminded me of when I first, like, in the early morning haze thoughts, was like, wow, this is like kind of like the Clarissa Shields signing. They got her, they're gonna have him fight a couple off fights and stuff. And then I do a little further digging, and to your point, Kyle, he's starting not necessarily a new division as in like weight class or something that they're going to have a championship, fight for every year in their championship playoff series format that they normally run. No, it's going to be the pay-per-view division, or however he worded it, where it's basically going to be like a invite only. Maybe they'll have some of the current champions, former champions, or something like that, or roster guys that aren't currently performing on the season and stuff like that, do the pay-per-views that I had noted, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 8 months, a year ago or something here on the show, where I had noted that PFL, they had the CEO go on the MMA Hour, and they had this big breakdown of how they're going to start incorporating pay-per-views into their, business model, and how they feel as though they'll be successful doing it. This is the only way, in my opinion, that you could all of a sudden be successful doing it. They're behind a semi-legitimate wall in ESPN, so it's going to be harder for the streamers out there that want to just stream it. And on top of that, you got genuine interest now in the Jake Paul signing and what he's going to be able to bring, who he's going to be able to bring, and if there's going to be any stars that he's able to, lure into also fighting for the PFL and stuff. It kind of goes back to what I was saying the other day with the whole Wiz Khalifa thing. Like, it would be not so crazy now that we have a Jake Paul headlining the card and we could see Wiz Khalifa fighting somebody else in the co-main on a pay-per-view slot,
Yeah.
So it's just, honestly, the move
Here comes Mike
wild.
Jackson.
Here's the move is wild. I really do think it was in the best interest of both parties involved, though. I really feel like it's something where Jake Paul now gets to say, hey, remember 2 years ago when everybody's like, okay, yeah, you're a boxer, but you won't ever fight MMA. And he's like, oh, give it some time. I still got my boxing career. Well, now he's going to continue to box here and there, but he's also going to, eventually do an MMA fight, and he's signed under a major organization. So all signs are pointing in the right direction. He's already pointed us or proved us wrong on multiple occasions, or at least myself, he's proved wrong. So I'm excited, man. I feel like it does nothing but really build up the prospect of an organization that I continuously try to shine a light for here on the show, but I feel like they just don't get the level of promotion that they need to be a thriving organization in this field.
Corey, so where does it start though? Like what's the starting point for Jake Paul? Competition wise, they're not going to throw him in there with a top tier level MMA guy, right? That wouldn't be a smart business move to go in there and just get his head knocked off. I mean, I don't think so. You don't want him to do a one and done.
No, you don't want him to do a one and done. But if he loses to somebody like a Nate Diaz, then it generates a ton of
that fight
eyeballs.
makes perfect sense. That fight makes sense. But I think he's talking about like one of their killers.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they do some Magomedov or something, that they have killing through the 170 division or something. I don't think they'd go that route. I think they bring in either, celebrities or star talent, or they continue to do maybe some of the like more off matchups, but I could definitely see the Nate Diaz thing coming to fruition. I feel like if there's any way to kind of really lure him in besides just a one-off in a match, it's, hey, here's a contract I'm already in a legitimate organization. You're gonna get 50% of the pay-per-view sales and all that. And if that's the case, that's like, you do one fight with them, you're gonna make real money.
Yeah.
You generate some views, that's real money. And so
but
I feel like it
think
could
about
happen,
on the
man.
flip side though is the money that PFL is going to have to shell out though, because you figure if you're going to get a guy like Nate Diaz, he ain't coming in there for no chump change. And Jake Paul, because Jake Paul also has equity in the company. Because here's the thing too, even if Jake Paul does go in there and get his ass kicked at this point, because he's got equity in PFL now, if they make a bunch of money, even if he gets his ass kicked, Jake Paul's going to make a bunch of money.
That's what I mean. He's double banking. He's the house and the player. You know what I mean? He's winning either way. So
he's playing on
that's
house
what I mean.
money,
I feel to your point with how do they just bring in some guy for him to steamroll, type of like the Bellator approach, where they're like, yeah, we got this up and comer and we're going to put him against a guy who's 5-4, who his 5 wins are questionable. I don't think they do that route. I think they let him continue to do his boxing thing, and I think they pluck one of these guys like a Nate Diaz, a Tony Ferguson, I hate to say it, but somebody of that ilk where they're still respected, but their fighting style is predominantly stand-up. They're not going to really go in there chasing to tear limbs off them and stuff, and Jake's going to be slightly the bigger guy. It's going to be at a catch weight or a very favorable weight for him. And I feel like they will put him against somebody who's a proven talent, but past their prime, and somebody who he can get a win against. You know what I mean? Is it necessarily a
Poor
for
guy.
sure? Yeah, but I feel
CM
like
Punk.
I'll be
I feel
honest with
like
you though, dude. Even
if
the
they
Nate
fight,
Diaz fight, though, the
yeah,
Nate Diaz fight, even in itself, like, sure, could he win that fight? Yeah, maybe. But in an MMA fight, I think Nate kicks his ass, and I think Jake Paul.
if
Again, this is where the equity of that comes in, because I think, honestly, I think Jake Paul's looking at this as, okay, that's why he threw out the 2-fight deal, because you figure if
yeah,
they're going to box and you get that means you're going to get a boxing fight out of it, and then you're going to get an MMA fight out of it, because you know he's going to get a camp for both. So that means not only is he going to get paid twice to fight, he's also going to make the equity money off of that. So if I'm Jake Paul, Jake Paul's got to be looking at that as, I can go out here, and in boxing, there's a good chance he might be able to knock out Nate, and go out here. Maybe he knocks Nate out in a boxing fight. And if he doesn't, he
fight
probably
him 6 months later,
fight him in
you know what I
MMA.
mean? Yeah.
And if Nate, so let's just say Nate submits him, which 9 times out of 10 would be what I would guess might happen. But if Nate submits him, then it's like, okay, well, I was supposed to lose to Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
But in a boxing match, if he's got that knockout to go along with it, so he can say, yeah, we're 1-1, I think he gets out of it. And then if you're Nate Diaz, then, you know, you can go back to the UFC, you know, if that's what you want to do to try to get that fight with Conor. But I just, on the flip side, do you think there's any chance that if they do the boxing fight first and say Jake wins, and it's like maybe like a controversial win, or he just knocks him out, you know, do you think there's any chance that he tries to find a way out before we get to the MMA fight?
I can see that.
I don't think he's I'll steal Bisbing's term. I don't think he's a dildo Danis. I don't think he pulls out of fights a week and a half before they are scheduled to happen. But no, I that's one thing I can say that I have kind of put faith in Jake Paul, especially for the fact that he runs his own promotion, has now aligned himself in a way where he has stakehold in PFL. So when he does perform for them, yet again, it'll be for himself while also for them. So I feel like if anything, he's the one that's like dealing with the people like Tommy Fury, who are the people that pull out of his fights. You know what I mean? I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like he's game. He's just fighting a bunch of people who aren't always game. Yeah.
Maybe that's just a big plan to take down his arch nemesis Dana White. Maybe that's what he's
It's
trying
a hell
to
of
do.
a plan, man. That's a hell of a
I don't know,
fucking
man.
plan
We
to
all know
step
they
in.
shoot those YouTube videos, some of them off their phones, because, you know, if you're on YouTube, you know, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But with that being said, you know, you shoot a lot of those YouTube videos off a cell phone. Maybe he was the one that planted the video that got Dana caught up. But speaking of Dana getting caught up, I mean, man, this could not have been more of like a perfect storm of bad shit to come in MMA in a week, because,
It's been a
you
bad
know,
week
for
for Dana
years,
White.
you're not kidding. I mean, you've heard Dana say till he's blue in the face that no man should ever hit a woman. And, you know, granted, yes, he got hit first, but then you saw him hit his wife not once, but twice. And then now he's got to deal with the consequences. But when you add to the fact that MMA's already kind of had that negative connotation from people like John McCain for years, like, it's not a good look when the head honcho is getting in trouble for that. And then on top of that, you also have to throw into the fact that how many people have we seen get kicked out of the UFC for domestic violence type stuff? Mm-hmm. So if you go through this and you don't take some kind of self-exiled, you know, break from, you know, the UFC, however that looks, you know, are you causing yourself a bigger problem there too? I mean, there's a million different things that come with that, because, dude, the UFC's already got the FBI up their ass because of the whole betting scandal. So, I mean,
oh, man, could it have been
not
at
a good
possibly worse time, right? Could you have possibly done any worse? Like, come on, promo team, man. If your guys are trying to promote the Dana White Power Slap League, this is not the way you go about it, guys.
You mean the Power Slap League that already got pulled off of TBS?
Well, no, they now have came out and officially stated that they pushed back the premiere 1 week. So take
I
that
saw
as
something
you,
saying that it got pulled. Let me
yeah, and
verify
then
that, but I saw
yeah,
something saying it got pulled.
look on MMA Junkie. I was just looking like 2 hours ago. They posted a initial post saying that it had been pulled from TBS airings, and then they posted a second post, and there was also somebody else, but I remember Junkie offhand for sure said it. So, but either way, it. Come on, man. Terrible look, like you say, with the investigation and everything going on with your organization. And then on top of that, it's just a, man, it's a fucking bad look. That's for sure.
You ain't lying, dude.
It,
That's like, what do
I
you do
mean,
though?
if,
Like, what do you do now? So, because
if,
what do
somebody,
you think?
I know, I know
don't
he's
know.
running the
Go ahead.
show, but like somebody needs to step in and say, "Look, dude, lead by example. Like,
Yeah.
you need to fucking take a hiatus." I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it would work, but like,
Yeah, I
Think a
don't know because
self-imposed hiatus
it,
is the way to go about it?
it is a different situation, right? I fully agree with what you guys are saying, but because of the fact it was a retaliation, and I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying it was okay. I'm not saying any of that, but
He
because of
didn't
the
care
fact it
when it
was a
was any of the guys
retaliation.
in the UFC.
Well, I think because a lot of those maybe they weren't directly caught on film. It wasn't directly like oh hey, my wife slapped me, so I slapped her back type of situation. Like I'm not making any excuses. It's a terrible fucking video, and it like he should face some type of ramification for it. It seems like all the organizations and stuff that he works with, hand in hand, kind of seem to be brushing it under the rug a little bit. So we'll see what ends up coming of all of this. But I agree. I feel like maybe he should take a month or two hiatus where he allows Hunter Campbell or John Anik or somebody to be a figurehead essentially for the next 2 months. But I don't know, man. It's a tough situation. I don't feel like he should be exiled from the president of like he's built this whole organization and stuff, and I don't feel like the video, as bad as it was, I don't feel like it was like it wasn't like he was like actually I don't even want to make excuses. He didn't make excuses for himself. It's a bad video, but it wasn't like I don't know. I don't feel like it was enough to ruin the man's whole career. So I feel like a 2 or 3 month hiatus, suspension, whatever you want, however you want to word it, would be appropriate given the situation that had played out.
yeah, I think that's just what it is, and I think that's what people are majority upset is because anybody else, look at Connor. Connor punched an old man, and people hate him for it. They hate him, dude.
Yeah.
And
Well,
now you got this.
he'll
It's just
never
you
live
have to
down the
lead by
public.
example. You have to lead
Yeah,
by example here. That's the main thing. Yeah, you got to say you're sorry. It's different. Like you can go publicly and say you're sorry, but like, dude, you're getting off easy right now. Like maybe we can't do much. We can't suspend your fighting license, right? Because you don't fucking fight. We can't suspend your, being on TV because you do whatever. But like something has to happen. You can't just say, "Damn, I hit my wife. I'm sorry. I'll grow from this, guys. But let's keep watching the show." Like, no, dude, that's not how it works now. You can't go on TV and say, "I'm against this. Nobody should ever do this," and then go do that. That's just not how the world works. So you have to own up to something. Something has to happen. Something. I don't know what.
To his credit, he has said he has taken full responsibility, but I agree with you. Self-imposed, if some kind of figurehead says something, like I feel like there needs to be some kind of something. Otherwise, then if you do anything to anybody else going here on out, that's going to immediately be the argument in how are you going to do this to me if there was no repercussions for you? And I mean, it sucks because MMA already kind of has that stigma, and then this all on a weekend when, on top of all that, over in Mexico, Phil Baroni's up for killing his girlfriend. Like, good Lord, dude. Like,
not a good
wild
look
week in the world of MMA.
It has been.
Good look, man. Fuck.
It definitely has been, and I guess like to round off my point, like I say, I don't want to make any excuses whatsoever for his actions and stuff. It's just I don't know how, as a sports organization they move forward with him just being the front runner without some type of ramification, whether it be self-imposed or not.
I mean, at this point, if you're ESPN or the heads of UFC, you take him clean off TV. You don't show his fucking face anymore for an extended period of time, because everything that you do positive wise, you can go on TV and say, I'm donating $1 million to the Children's Hospital. They're going to look at you and say, yeah, you're doing that because you were a piece of shit over here, and now you're trying to make up for it over here. That's what you're going to get now with him being the face. When he steps into the octagon with the belt, yeah, maybe people won't say shit, but a lot of people are going to be sitting there like, this motherfucker, maybe even booing him. Maybe, who knows what the public's going to do, but at this point, you just need to, like Kyle said, take a hiatus, get off TV. Don't go on your fucking, wild rants on Instagram and all that shit. Go away for a little bit, because that's what you need to do. You need to go fix your relationship first and foremost, because something ain't right there.
Yeah, something. I mean, as somebody who's been in a long-term relationship, that's not the craziest thing that could have ever happened in the world. If somebody smacks be exchanged, right? It wasn't like there was malicious intent from either side. It looked like it wasn't like somebody was actually trying to harm the other. It was more of a like, oh, you motherfucker, and then, oh, you can't fucking do that, like in front of all my friends in the group, and then it just boiled into a way worse situation. So that being said, I kind of divulged to my first point. I feel like a 3-month, but it's so, how do you do that right now when it's fucking Dana White's Power Slap League? It's Dana White's fucking Tuesday
and
Night
that's something we were talking about
Series.
before we went live.
And,
they said that the Power Slap league's been taken off TBS, and even if it's just postponed, I mean,
it's 1 week though. 1 week ain't nothing. 1 week is, oh, hey, we made a schedule change and now it's 1 week. That's not.
If that isn't the worst thing to have right now, considering what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But how do you get caught slapping somebody right before you open up a new sports organization about people slapping people? It's just the craziest fucking.
He shouldn't have been in that. Bottom line, he shouldn't have put himself in that position, man. You got to think smarter.
Absolutely.
You're the face of a company. You're the face of you're the face of a sport.
Multi-billion-dollar organization.
And in a sport that's already gets, the ass end of like, it's human cockfighting. Like, we've all been through that. It's a growing sport. It's America's sport. It's just like, dude, you're putting a bad taste in people's mouth by doing this. And you're the last person that should be doing this. So just go away for a minute. I don't know. I don't know what else you can do at this point.
I mean, I think that's the only way you can do it, but regardless of how he does it, dude, he's going to have to do something. Otherwise, he's going to instantly be looked at as a hypocrite because of all the people that have happened with inside of the UFC. I don't know, man. That's a pretty crazy note to go on when it comes to the world of MMA and all those things that are coming with it. All I know is, especially with the timing of it, with the betting and all that, all I know is it's looking like it's good money if you bet on last week's Jimmy Flick and all that good stuff. That's
one thing I wanted to divulge on a little more now that it's just us three here and we're not, working it around a guest and stuff. What's your guys' real thoughts on this whole Jimmy Flick thing, huh? I mean,
I'm not sure the details. Somebody break it down. I know the money line changed like significantly,
drastically.
Right.
So basically the same type of situation that sparked this whole investigation and everything to begin with is what essentially went from a pick'em fight, roughly even odds, minus 150 to plus 150 at most. I don't know exactly what the original lines were. Now this both the original, the Derek Minner versus, I can't remember who he fought, and now the Jimmy Flick versus Charles Johnson fight, the line has just drastically changed. It originally came out as a pick'em, and now I believe Jimmy Flick is plus 370 or some shit, and Charles
I
Johnson's
saw plus
like
350 on
-500.
DraftKings.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. I seen Mr. Brick himself, Jimmy, posted on Twitter that he's not injured. He's coming into this fight fully prepared. He does not understand what the line changes necessarily from. He addressed it himself directly. Like, he's the one. When I shared it to Kyle, I shared directly off of his Twitter page what he posted. So it's not like he's being shy about this or like, not saying anything and kind of just coming into the fight with hiding things. So I don't know, man. I genuinely don't know. And I feel like it's crazy for this to be such a big thing that it was in last year. I mean, it was the story of the year, in my opinion. And then now for it to happen so quickly into the year, the first fight card of the year. And then on top of that, it's to one of our past guests that we had just had on the show a week ago. It just feels crazy to me.
He's still right now. He's at plus 300, Kyle, right? So
the line's moving back a little bit. But what's Charles Johnson sitting at?
Shit. Hold on. Right now, though, oh shit. If I'm a betting man, and I am, I'm taking on fight night. I'm taking him to win by submission. Give me all the money, dude.
I mean, with that kind of line, just spread it out. Throw sub and throw, money line, because I mean,
minus 365 for Charles Johnson.
Yeah. Okay. So the line went significantly back to normal somewhat, but that's still.
Yeah. But why? Like, well, who knows something?
Yeah.
Here?
What?
What's going on?
Like, is it just because it was and another thing I find really weird too, and I don't know if this was like the UFC's doing, if they had heard about the rumblings with the whole betting thing and they just wanted to kind of push it towards the bottom of the card and stuff. But when he was on our show, Big Marcel, as everybody knows him on Twitter, who's like basically the major like MMA outlet for fight announcements and stuff. He's very accurate and very detailed with his stuff. He has a full list of all the upcoming events and who's confirmed on the main card and stuff. And that was right when my internet kicked out during the Flick show. I wanted to tell him he was main card confirmed. That was for sure. He was blue on his little chart, like that was, he was main card confirmed opening the night. And then all of a sudden now he's like the second fight of the night. So there was also movement on the card as well. So I'm very curious what's going on behind the scenes and what happened. Did some just crazy rich guy be like, I really like the way Charles Johnson fought in his last fight that was a split decision, and I feel like he's going to beat this guy that came off of a 2-year layoff or something. I don't know, but it's crazy, man. It's crazy to me.
Definitely a little nuts, dude. It's going to be nuts to see how it plays out. If you didn't get to do so, make sure you check out that Jimmy Flick episode. If you're new here, make sure you fuck around and find out. Like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button, all those good things. Get your money together, bet your money on Jimmy Flick. And then along with your tax return from our homies at G3 Payroll and Tax, you'll be sitting fine and pretty when you go over to Michigan's Finest and use that code KO3MF. So like I said, I don't know, man. There's a lot of shit going around the world of pro wrestling and MMA. I can tell you, though, that I have a little bit of breaking news. For those of you who know, I will be back behind the microphone for Lights Out Championship coming up next month in February. You heard the man, like Bulletproof Truth said. It's lights out. With that being said, though, it's going to be maybe lights out in this fight because you've got
a lot of bells.
I mean, dude, you've got past guests of the show, the Albanian superstar himself, Adrian Hadjabij, the Eagle, is coming back to fight Eric Lozano for the Lights Out Pro Super Welterweight Championship here, going down in February in Warren at Hype Athletics Center. You're going to see all the Albanian flags out. They're going to be swinging them motherfuckers looking like a gang of bloods in here. And it's going to be a great night. And all I know is Lozano better be ready, because the last time I saw Adrian fight and it got a little bit testy, they were shaking the cage. So I'm just saying, you better be ready. come lights out. But I don't know, man. I feel like we've pretty much covered it all on this one. We've talked about Dana White. We talked about Jake Paul. Talked about WrestleKingdom. And we talked about Mercedes Moné and how it's going to be money. Make sure your YouTube experience is money. Hit that subscribe button, or guess what? If you're not here next Thursday or next Tuesday at 9 p.m., you're all fired. Future endeavors, motherfuckers. Peace.